Hello, world. How are we doing today? This is Devonte Arrington at Veteran Home Solutions. You probably saw my website at vetbuyshouses.com. I may have spoke to you on the phone. So, you are probably receiving this in an email. So, this is kind of go through a little bit of how things are done and how I can go ahead and help you in your situation. Now, if you've bought a house before or you sold a house, you probably understand, listing it with a realtor, what that entails. But I'm going to explain how my option is better by far because I don't at all at any point tie you up from selling your house on your own. And in my expertise and in my experience, a lot of people who have listed their house, not all of them, but a great deal of them have went into foreclosure, had to auction their house, take a significant hit on their house. It sold, but it might have been on the market for months and months, or maybe a year or two, at a time. And you can look at Zillow as proof. There's some houses that are listed with realtors that have been on there for 200 plus days. Typically, majority of sellers I deal with are seeing seeing buyers within 2 to 3 days, a good flow amount of buyers, and at a consistent rate as well. And I typically don't hold on to properties for more than a month. So this is the option to purchase real property agreement. So just based on our conversation, I might have had offered you two options. So here at Veteran Home Solutions, depending on the equity and depending on the situation of the house, we can buy your house with our funds. And that depends on a number of things. If you're looking to get, if you're looking to get cash out of the house and you need a certain price to be able to do that, well, if there's enough equity inside the property, we could essentially give you the cash you're looking for and be able to take over the house payment. So the other option is that we find you a buyer within our buyer network. And if it makes sense to us to go ahead and market your property, then we spend our funds to go ahead and do so. At no point in time are you ever coming out of pocket as a seller, to work with us. And I'm going to explain that further down here. So this is how to fill the non-exclusive agreement. So obviously you put the date right here, and when it says and or assigned as buyers, so that's pretty much saying that this is right here, Veteran Home Solutions. This is where we would go. So we have the option to buy it ourselves or assign it as the buyer. So assign it means, we get it under contract or under agreement for one price, which would be the offer price, and then we assign it to a buyer in our buyer's network. And I'll explain that further down here. So your name would go here as a seller. You put the property address and the offer. Buyer has the option to buy property at X amount. The period, I typically look between 30 to 45 days. I have a good amount of resources that I really don't need that much time. Um, I know a lot of agents require 65 days. Seller understands, I mean, 6 months, I'm sorry. Seller understands that buyer's intention is to find an end buyer and assign this option agreement to that end buyer for a fee. So essentially, if we agreed on a purchase price of, let's say, 145, and I had a buyer that was willing to pay 150, so I would first give you your bottom dollar of 145, and then I would find a buyer for 150. So it'd look like this. Your price, buyer's price, Our profit fee would be 5,000. See, a lot of people, they ask, well, how do you make money? We make the money in the difference of what we get the property under contract from you for, and the amount that it takes for a buyer to purchase it from us. So seller understands that buyer is acting as a principal in this transaction and is not working as a licensed real estate broker representing anyone in the transaction. So if we talked about this of what I am, I wear many hats. I do a lot of rent to owns. I do a lot of attorney closed. I do a lot of, retail buying. I do some rehabs. I do have buyers that are pre-qualified. That they already have a loan ready to go. So I wear a lot of different hats. I do work with agents and I do work with brokers, but I am not an agent or a broker, and I am not listing your house at all. Upon buyer's decision to exercise this option, both parties agree to move forward with the necessary purchase and sales agreement, standard purchase and sales agreement. That's pretty much saying, that you are 100% free to go ahead and market your property. Somebody comes along with $145,000, then go ahead and, sell it to them. But let's say I have a buyer, or we're willing to go ahead and buy it with our own funds, then now we can go ahead and agree on the regular standard purchase and sales agreement. So nothing is set in stone until then. Seller may cancel this agreement at any time if they find their own buyer with an executed contract before the option is exercised. So right there, that is the real meat and the real benefit of doing this agreement with us, is because you can get penalized, work with an agent, and let's say you find a buyer, and a lot of the times, if you get an offer by a buyer, an agent might fight against it. If if it's a lower offer, then it's taken out of their commission. You know what I'm saying? And that can be a real holdup for a lot of sellers. I know I've dealt with a seller before who had an offer from somebody, and it was a good price, and the agent's like, well, let's wait till we get something higher. Well, in this case, dealing with us, you don't have to worry about an agent, holding up your property because they're waiting for a higher offer so they can get a higher commission. This way you're able to maybe even take a lower price, even if it means, essentially if it means that you're not going to go ahead and come out of pocket, to pay an agent, and then you're able to sell your house faster. That's the benefit of this. Seller agrees to allow buyer to put a sign in the yard advertising the property for sale. So if you're a for sale by owner and you already have a sign, you don't have to take down your sign to put up my sign. If you're doing a rent to own, we agree on that. I would suggest, letting me put a sign in the yard, because they sell a lot quicker. We're able to get a buyer quicker. But then again, it's not a necessity right here. If buyer does not acquire an end buyer to assign this deal to within X amount of days of acceptance of this option agreement, this agreement is null and void. So pretty much it's like this. So I got a guy right here. He says that his house is worth. He said his house is worth $92,000. His asking price is $99,000. So I choose not to work with sellers like that, whose asking price is higher than what the worth is. And the reason for that is because when I send you an agreement for this property, and I want to move forward, is because I legitimately see that there is profit to be made. This house is able to be sold within a reasonable amount of time. And that's why, I only require, 30, 45 days, and it's null and void. Well, I'm not just sending this out here to just, get properties under contract, because it costs money to market. It costs money to go ahead and find a buyer. So I'm not necessarily looking for any of my agreements to go null and void. I'm looking at actually closing on them, because I spend a great deal of time, money, signs, marketing, ads, all that costs money. So, I'm not in the business of of just getting these under contract and letting these go null and void. So all parties agree that the property is being sold in as is condition unless noted otherwise. So here's some seller added comments for you. If you need to add anything, buyer would go right here. That would be me. The date would go right here. The seller for you, obviously, and date. And we don't necessarily need any of this information until, obviously, you can fill this out, send it back to my email, or if you need to fax it, then we can work out those details. Once you fill this out, you can print it off, or I'll probably be sending you. I could probably send you a fillable document, so you can actually just enter it in, type it in, all your information. So this right here, I actually need this to go ahead and get the process rolling, because it allows, if we're able to come up with the funds right away, we want to be able to exercise that and be able to buy the house right away. So having this, essentially you could get the funds, wired in a few days if we came to an agreement with the price. And if we have a buyer that's pre-qualified, definitely we want to have this filled out so we're not at the last minute trying to get it filled out, get it sent back, try to get it to the title company, try to get to the attorney's office. This way we have it filled out, it's ready to go. So this is Devontae Arrington, and I am looking forward to working with you. And no more paying commissions, no more having your house sit on the market for months and months and possibly years. So I thank you and have a great day.